Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to the Shiva Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's from Canto 2, The Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 5, which is entitled The Cause of All Causes. And today's text is text 24. So without further ado, we'll start the class now. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Rajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Rajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari 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 Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramhansa Privajikacharya Stottara Satyashish Maharaj Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramhansa Privajikacharya Stottara Satyashish Maharaj Divine Grace Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavin Ki Jai Nama Acharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai ISKCON founder Acharya Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री द्वैत गदाधर शिवाचार्य गौर भक्तवृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय वृंदावन धाम की जय मथुरा धाम की जय नवद्वीप धाम की जय जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय जगन्नाथ स्वामी की जय गंगा माई की जय जमुना माई की जय तुलसी देवी की जय भक्ति देवी की जय हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the Lord's feet of Sri Guru and Gauranga Krishna Prabhupada Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Nityanamane Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Siddhartha Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Nityanamane Narayana Namaskritya Narunchevam Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashtaprayesu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavata Uttamastuke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna. Dear devotees, he accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, this morning text, as you said earlier, from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Canto 2, Chapter 5, and Text 24. Sohankara iti prokto vikurvan samavutrida vekarikastejasascha tamasascheti yat vida dravya shakti kriya shakti jnana shaktir iti prabhu. Sohankara iti prokto vikurvan samavutrida Vekarikasti jasascha tamasascheti yatpida dravyam shakti kriya shakti jnana shakti iti prabhu. Sohankara iti prokto vikurvan samavutridam vekarak Vekarikaste jasascha tamasascheti yatpida Dravya Shakti Kriya Shakti Jnana Shakti Iti Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Please unmute and chant.
अहङ्कार इति प्रोक्तो विकुर्वन् सम्भूतत्रिधा वैकारिकस्तेजसश्च तामसश्चेति यद्विधा द्रव्यशक्ति क्रियाशक्तिर्ज्ञानशक्तिरिति प्रभु. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna. Someone else?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
सोऽहङ्कार इति प्रोक्तो विकुर्वन् समाभूता त्रिधा वैकारिकस्तैजसाश्च तामसश्चेति यद्विधा द्रव्यशक्ति क्रियाशक्तिर्ज्ञानशक्तिरिति प्रभो. हरे कृष्ण.
Anyone else?
सोऽहंकार इति प्रोक्तो तामासि समभद्रिधा वैकारिकस् Give me 1 second. वैकारिकस्तजसश्च तामश्च चेति यद्विधा द्रव्यशक्तिक्रियाशक्तिर्ज्ञानशक्तिरिति प्रभो. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Okay, we'll do word for word. Sa, the very same thing. Ahankar, ego. Iti, thus. Prokta, said. Vikurvan, being transformed. Samabhut, became manifested. Trida, in three features. Vaikarika, in the mode of goodness. Tejasa, in the mode of passion. Cha, and Tamasa, in the mode of ignorance. Cha, also. Iti, thus. Yat, what is. Vidha, Hida, divided. Dravya Shakti, powers that evolve matter. Kriya Shakti, initiation that creates. Jnana Shakti, intelligence that guides. Iti, thus. Prabhu, O Master. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The self-centered materialistic ego, being thus transformed into three features, becomes known as the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance in three divisions, namely the powers that evolve matter, the knowledge of material creations, and intelligence that guides such materialistic activities. Narad, you are quite competent to understand this. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Materialistic ego, or the sense of identification with matter, is grossly self-centered, devoid of clear knowledge of the existence of God. And this self-centered egoism of the materialistic living entities is the cause of their being conditioned by the other paraphernalia and continuing their bondage of material existence. In the Bhagavad Gita, this self-centered egoism is very nicely explained in the 7th chapter, verses 24 through 27. The self-centered impersonalist, without a clear conception of the personality of Godhead, concludes in his own way that the personality of Godhead takes a material shape from his original impersonal spiritual existence for a particular mission. And this misleading conception of the Supreme Lord by the self-centered impersonalist continues, even though he is seen to be very interested in the Vedic literature, such as the Brahma Sutras and other highly intellectual sources of knowledge. This ignorance of the personal feature of the Lord is due simply to ignorance of the mixture of different modes. The impersonalist thus cannot conceive of the Lord's eternal spiritual form of eternal knowledge, bliss, and existence. The reason is that the Lord reserves the right of not exposing himself to the non-devotee who, even after a thorough study of literature like the Bhagavad Gita, remains an impersonalist simply by obstinacy. This obstinacy is due to the action of Yogamaya, the personal energy of the Lord that acts like an aide-de-camp by covering the vision of the obstinate impersonalist. Such a bewildered human being is described as mudha, or grossly ignorant, because he's unable to understand the transcendental form of the Lord as being unborn and unchangeable. If the Lord takes a form or material shape from his original impersonal feature, then it means that he is born and changeable from impersonal to personal. But he is not changeable, nor does he ever take a new birth like a conditioned soul. The conditioned soul may take a form birth after birth due to his conditional existence in matter. But the self-centered impersonalists, by their gross ignorance, accept the Lord as one of them because of self-centered egoism, even after so-called advancement of knowledge in the Vedanta. The Lord, being situated in the heart of every individual living entity, knows very well the tendency of such conditioned souls in terms of past, present, and future. But the bewildered conditioned soul hardly can know him in his eternal form. By the will of the Lord, therefore, the impersonalist, even after knowing the Brahman and Paramatma features of the Lord, remains ignorant of his eternal personal feature as ever-existent Narayan, transcendental to all material creation. The cause of such gross ignorance is constant engagement by the materialistic man in the matter of artificially increasing material demands. To realize the supreme personality of Godhead, one has to purify the materialistic senses by devotional service. The mode of goodness or the Brahminical culture recommended in the Vedic literatures is helpful to such spiritual realization. And thus the Jnana Shakti stage of the conditioned soul is comparatively better than the other two stages, namely Dravya Shakti and Kriya Shakti. The whole material civilization is manifested by a huge accumulation of materials, or in other words, raw materials for industrial purposes, and the industrial enterprises, Kriya Shakti, are all due to gross ignorance of spiritual life. In order to rectify this great anomaly of materialistic civilization, based on the principles of Dravya Shakti and Kriya Shakti, one has to adopt the process of devotional service of the Lord by adoption of the principles of Karma Yoga mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 27 as follows. Yat karosi, yat ashnasi, yat jihoshi, tadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya, tat kurushva mat apanam. O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities that you may perform, should be done as an offering unto me. Om Gyanati Mirandasya Gyana Gyana Shalakaya Chakshu Umilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhisitam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dilati Swaha Padatika Nama Om Vishnu Panaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschatya Deshatarini Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gvatuche Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. The English translation again. The self-centered materialistic ego, thus being transformed into three features, becomes known as the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance, in three divisions, namely the powers that evolve matter, knowledge of material creation, and the intelligence that guides such materialistic activities. Narada, you are quite competent to understand this. Hare Krishna. And we're also praying for the Supreme Personality of Godhead and our spiritual masters to guide us to understand, just like Lord Brahma was telling his son Narada, that we are quite competent. In this material world, our intelligence has been compromised in many ways, connecting so much with materialism. And as Sri Prabhupada describes in the purport, people are trying to live without really understanding even the existence of God. You go to religions, you still won't find who God is. You will not even in the religions. The Christians know the Son of God, Jesus, but they don't know God. The Muslims call him Allah, but they don't know him. They don't really know him. They know a little bit about him, but that's all. And so their minds are all involved in material things, matter. And as Lord Brahma describes here, it's involved in three features, the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. So, as it said in the Bhagavad Gita, Prakritikriya Manani Gunai Karmani Sarvasa Hankara Vimudatma Kataham Iti Manyate. So people are thinking that they have control over things that they do, but actually, activities in the material world are already there. To God and to the demigods, there's nothing new. Nothing is new. Everything that we do, we either take starting materials that are present in nature and combine them a certain way, using the energy which is also prevalent or supplied by nature to get what seems like a new product. But actually, it's just combinations and permutations, that's all. Especially at the atomic level, it's very obvious then that it's just a rearrangement of atoms, that's all. This one goes to this party and it latches over this side of it, and then we say we got a new product. It's the same thing. If you put a jigsaw puzzle together, it's like that. In the end, it looks like you got a picture. But if you look really at it, it's just the same parts that you put together in different ways, that's all. But the parts are still there. And that's what we call material creation. And then people are just preoccupied doing that. Because once that, picture is finally put together, we got a new product. Oh, this is how we did it. How can we improve on it? And then he's going on one thing after another, after another, after another. In the meantime, there's great forgetfulness about who we really are and why we're here on this earth. We are spiritual beings stuck in this material body for a period of time based on our own consciousness. If the consciousness finally gets to the point of wanting to leave, then arrangements will be made And we have to follow the arrangements, just like Srila Prabhupada said, the scripture and injunctions, the rules and regulations to follow, and then we can get out. If not, then we just keep staying here, life after life after life after life. And there are plenty of physical bodies to get in, 8,400,000 of them. Mm-hmm. So even if we got into one for a particular lifetime, it would take millions and millions and millions and millions of years going through all of these bodies. And every one of them means we stay in the material world, which is a place of misery. Mm-hmm. So Lord Brahma is explaining, and yesterday when Gita Mataji was talking, she started by saying that this is technical. She tried very, 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 I mean, she did a great job of breaking it down. Mm-hmm. This part is also very much technical. The self-centered materialistic ego, which we call the false ego, is transferred into or transformed into three features: mortal goodness, passion, and ignorance. And there are subsequently three divisions. The powers that evolve matter, that's from Vishnu. The knowledge of the material creations is also from Vishnu. And then the intelligence that guides the material activities. It's also from Vishnu through Lord Brahma. So we have material intelligence and then material mind. What does the mind do? The mind accepts some things and rejects some other things. I like this, I don't like this. We all have, experience of it. We go to a certain place, or let's say a store, selling some products. There's a lot of products in the shelves. Especially in America, a lot of products on the shelves. So what do? We look at it. I like this. No, I don't like this one. And then we keep choosing until we just get one. But now, of course, those who are playing with the subtle energies are very much aware of the fact that they can, in fact, influence the choices that we make by advertising certain products and repeating and repeating and repeating, so that the subconscious picks up on that, so that when we see that, then we take it. So then we are steeped in the mode of passion, wanting things, wanting things, wanting things. This is the life that we live. So Srila Prabhupada explains it in the purport that the materialistic ego is also the sense of identification, sense of who we are. The reason we say false ego is that people tend to identify who we are with the body, and that's not correct. That's why it's called false ego. When we identify with the soul, that's real ego. But identifying with the soul also comes with the understanding that we are part and parcel of the Supreme Soul, and we are meant to serve the Supreme Soul. That's the full understanding of ego. One person that understands that way does not have a false ego. A person that thinks that they are matter and they are going to take what is available around them and they are going to be happy by fashioning it in a certain way, and this is how they're going to live their life, and there's nothing beyond that, that person has a false idea of what life is, and therefore their identity is also misplaced. That's why they have a false ego. So Krishna consciousness actually teaches us to get away from a false ego by understanding we are servant of a servant of a servant of a Supreme Personality of Godhead. But when things are described materially, we talk about the five main elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Then the subtle ones are mind, intelligence, and then the ego. And in the ego, most of the time, is classified as false ego because people identify with material things. So our real ego, real sense of identity, ego is identity. So a real sense of identity, if we identify ourselves as spirit, then that's real ego. But we have to identify as spirit and also part and parcel of the Supreme Spirit, just a tiny part of the Supreme Spirit meant to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, Srila Prabhupada said this self-centered egoism It's really the cause of people being conditioned. And we're talking particularly about human beings, because animals don't have, and animals below that, all the way up to the fish, other aquatics, they don't have the intelligence to actually be able to decipher their situation, think through things. There's not that the intelligence is not there at all, but it's very limited, and they don't have a connection with Krishna, but human beings do. So ours, this self-centered egoism, is the reason why people are conditioned. And there's paraphernalia around for us to keep trying to live and keep trying to think that we're going to be, or thinking that we're going to be happy with the material things. That's the situation that everybody is in, unless they've heard about Krishna consciousness and now have their minds in the right direction if they take the Krishna consciousness seriously. In other words, even after hearing about it, how willing are we to go along with the understanding and the directions that are given? That's still our choice. Do we want to take it really seriously, or we want to take it piecemeal? Some things I like, some things I don't like. In other words, we're not even using the intelligence. We're going back to the mind that accepts and rejects things. In Krishna consciousness, nothing is to be taken piecemeal. We have to accept all of it. All of it. So, Bhagavad Gita explains this in chapter 7, knowledge of the absolute, verses 24 to 27. Srila Prabhupada has referred to those verses. And it also explains more about the material energy, the way it's perceived by unintelligent people. So text 24 says, the unintelligent men, Krishna is saying, unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was impersonal before, and now have assumed this personality, this form. So due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is personal, which is imperishable, and which is supreme. So Srila Prabhupada even states there that those who worship demigods, they have been described as less intelligent persons because they're not focusing on serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are connected with his assistants who are themselves perishable. And the impersonalist is also not very intelligent because they don't know Krishna's personal form to be one that's always there. They just think that when he's coming to the material world, then somehow there's a transformation and Krishna takes a body. Which Srila Prabhupada then argues the point logically that if those people are thinking that Krishna is impersonal and then he's coming, he takes the body, then he's really born like the way we conditioned souls are born. And they're likely to believe that because, oh, there was a mother, Devaki, there was a father, Vasudeva, so he was born. And that's when he was born. And at the Battle of Prabhashita, left the body. The hunter shot an arrow and then he died. So now Krishna is just like us. He was born, he had parents, and then he died. Krishna says, those who don't believe in his personal form, those unintelligent people, he reserves the right to keep them at the level of Krishna that they want to think. The facts are there, but if they want to just think that Krishna takes just a body, because they can't refuse that. When he's in the material world and he's doing activities, they can't say that he's not personal. They are saying he's impersonal. But because of the activities, and we see a person relating, talking, acting, they cannot say that Krishna is impersonal at that point. So to get around it, they say, oh, he's actually impersonal. It's just effulgence. But when he's coming here, that effulgence now takes a material form. And then his parents, see? So then he's born. And then he lives, how long? 125 years. You know, all of that. So they just literally take Krishna just like a regular conditioned soul. A person that came down, and this is the problem. So Krishna, in his infinite mercy, came himself, and he described who he was in Bhagavad Gita and who we are. And Srila Prabhupada says that it's because of obstinacy. In other words, in American terms, hard-headedness. People who are stubborn, who are hard-headed, they will read the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna describes who he is. Even the material creationists said just a little smidgen, a splendid just a small spark of my splendor is all you've seen of this material creation. How powerful he is. But he is also spirit. When he talks about material creation, he says, yes, it comes from me, but I'm outside of it because it's material and Krishna is spiritual. We as human beings are also categorized as spiritual, even though we have these material bodies. But that's for living in the material world. Those in the spiritual world do not have material bodies. They are fully expanded souls with form and can change to other forms too, with full senses that are interchangeable. Interchangeable means that the eyes can smell and the ears can taste. So many things, all these senses can do the job of other senses. Krishna senses like that. That's why ours are like that too. We're talking about the soul, not this material. Material ones, we're just limited. Each one of them has just one activity with the exception of a tongue that can vibrate in speaking and also can taste. Two. Two things can do. Everything else does one. The eyes see and nothing else. The eyes cannot eat. The eyes cannot smell. The nose is the one that smells. The nose cannot see. So we're limited like that. But the senses for the soul, they are interchangeable. That is why when we offer boga, we cook under the instructions of Guru. We don't taste, and the ingredients are specific ingredients. Some ingredients are not allowed because Krishna doesn't take those. And when we offer, then by the mercy of the Lord, at the end of the offering, we see that it's changed to prashadam, but we can't see physically with our eyes because our eyes are limited. The mercy of the Lord, but it's still there and we can take. The Lord can eat it. And in Raghunath Das Goswami's situation is a pastime. One of the 6 Goswamis, when he was young, his parents gave him boga to offer to the Lord. And he thought that offering the Lord has to eat. And so he finished, and the prasadam was there, and it wasn't gone. And this little boy says, why? You have to eat. He started crying to the Lord. So the Lord ate. Finished the whole thing. And surprised his father when his father came back and said, where's the prasadam? He says, the Lord ate it. The father said, what? Anyway, we're not going to blame you, but we tried again. So again, we gave another time, preparation. Raghunath Das Goswami, Raghunath, give it to the Lord and pray the prayers. I'll be gone. First time he was actually gone. Came back and the Lord had eaten everything. And they didn't believe. Raghunath Das Goswami said, all right, well, the proof is do it again. Let's see what happens. So they gave one to offer. This time, rather than the father go away, he hid himself. So Raghunath Das Goswami did not know his father was watching. And he offered same way. Offered. And again, it was just sitting there. The prep was there. And again, he started appealing to the Lord, please eat, please eat. So now the Lord ate some and left some. And when he took the plate up and brought it, the father had already seen what had happened because he was hiding and watching. And then he told his wife, we have a very, very special son. Indeed, he was. He was one of the 6 Goswamis. Later on, he joined Lord Chaitanya. So, those who put their hearts into serving, those are the ones that understand the personal feature of the Lord. And we are fortunate to have Srila Prabhupada who breaks everything down so simply for us to be able to take it in, if we will take it in. So, the 3 modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, are guides for everything that we do in the material world. Whatever we do is in one of those modes, sometimes even a combination of 2. But everything we do is like that, materially, in the mode of goodness, or mode of passion, or mode of ignorance. Right now, in this world, passion is king. Because everybody is trying to go after developing materially. And that is trying to create something, trying to study something, trying to get into a particular position in order to bring in more money. And in the meantime, there's a lot of cheating going on. And this is, anyway, it's Kali Yuga, so that shouldn't be too surprising. But it's a mode of passion. Now, should devotees be in the mode of passion? The answer is yes and no. When we are passionate to produce something, and we produce it to serve the devotees, to serve Guru, and to serve Krishna, then that is passion or creativity put in the right, or put to good use, lack of a better way to put it. But when we are passionate for things for our own selves to satisfy our senses, then that's not good use of passion. So passion here is about the creative, the creativity, the powers that evolve matter. That's all part of creation, and creation is put under the mode of passion. Lord Brahma is the one that creates after the universes come to be in their raw form, for lack of a better way to put it. Brahma creates the varieties based on the mode of passion. Creativity is from that. Goodness is definitely a nice, wonderful, is the best material quality that anyone can have. And ignorance is the worst kind of activity. We've got to stay away from that. We have to. Doing things that are harmful to the environment, harmful to oneself, and also harmful to other living entities. That's more the ignorance. And one that spends so much time doing things in that particular mode will wind up in one of the hellish planets based on what they've done and undergo some punishment. And the chances are very, very high. And the person is totally materialistic and not involved in any Krishna consciousness, that they will come back in a non-human type body. So everything is watched. The demigods watch everything that we do. And therefore, there's no getting away. That is funny. When we do some things and the law doesn't catch up with us, we got away with it. No, we haven't, not at all. The demigods have seen it, Jamaraj has seen it, and they make a note of it. And so through activities, even when we come to Krishna consciousness and we're serving, we have to be very careful how we relate, because the modes are still with us. And if we make a decision based on any of the modes, and as is explained in Bhagavad Gita, lust, which is mode of passion, anger, mode of ignorance, pride, mode of ignorance, illusion, well, as it says, also illusion. I mean, more the ignorance, illusion, not knowing things properly as they are. Greed, it's illusion, it's ignorance, but it's fueled by passion. Greed. I want for myself. I want for myself. And then envy, definitely, more the ignorance. So lust, anger, greed, pride, illusion, and envy still affect the devotees. We have to be very, very, very careful to follow the rules as Srila Prabhupada has given and be careful not to offend. Then we can get away from this. Lust is, I want for myself. Broadly, that's what it means. People sometimes associate lust with sex life. It has some connection, true enough, just for enjoyment of the senses. It has some connection, but it is actually broader than that. When we want distinction, when we want adoration, that is also subtle, the subtle form of lust. So it's here in the material world, true enough, but it doesn't mean that we have to play into it. There are so many things. For example, there are liquor stores. When you go to the supermarket, there are places where it's set aside just for meat and fish. And there are certain shelves that have eggs. But do you have to go there? No, we have a choice. We have a choice. So we can choose to take it or stay away from it, or buy it or not buy it. So that choice is always there. And how we use it, that's up to us. So the fact of the matter is the Lord is always personal, always. And this impersonal thing that people get involved with, those who are talking about the impersonalist, is just the effulgent rays of the Lord, the rays of the person of the Lord that these impersonalists think is actually all of the Lord. It's just the rays emanating from his body. So the Lord is always, always, always personal. And different incarnations are also personal. The Lord expands to Balaram. Balaram is personal. Balaram expands to the chapter you have, Vasudev, Anirudh, Sankashan, Padumya. They're all personal. Narayan is personal. So the Lord is personal, whichever form that he takes, even when he takes a form just for his devotee. Like the case of Prahlad and Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu was the father of Prahlad Maharaj. The Lord came as Sringadev, half man, half lion. It's still a personal form. So it's just, people who think that the Lord is impersonal, that's basically they covered, as Srila Prabhupada describes here. The curtain of Yogamaya covers them. The curtain of the Yogamaya acts like, as Srila Prabhupada says, an aide-de-camp. It means that he's a great helper for the things that Krishna wants done. And Yogamaya does that. In some places too, Yogamaya acts wonderfully in the pastime of the Lord. For example, when the gopis hear Krishna's flute in the evening, at night, and they leave to go to see where he is, to meet him, and to have pastimes with him. Sometimes it's a rasa dance with him. So when they leave home, then the same Yogamaya creates a double for each of the gopis. So to the family members, the gopis are home. Yogamaya does that. But Krishna and the gopis are actually in one of the forests and they're having a great time. Krishna is always involved in pastimes. Even when he's killing demons, he enjoys it. But he also liberates them. killing the physical body, of course. The soul can never be killed. So the impersonalists are ignorant. It's just that simple. They try to study the Vedanta. They can't get that far with it because they never get to the point of accepting the personal feature of the Lord. Prabhupada says, at best, from the Brahman, they will get to the Paramatma feature. That's better than even the Brahman feature only. Paramatma is a super soul. But the eternal personal feature as the ever-existent Narayan, transcendental to all material creation, they never think of him that way. So what are we supposed to do? Well, getting away from the ignorance, we have to just serve the Lord based on the instructions given by the spiritual master. The spiritual master for Arjuna is Krishna himself. And he says in the Bhagavad Gita, all that we do, he was telling Arjuna, but it's for us too, all that we do. So in our daily actions, it should be done, those actions should be done as an offering to Krishna. Now, how do we do that? Well, we start by, in the beginning of our day, praying to the Lord. Praying is also one of the 9 processes of devotional service. Pray to the Lord, telling him that you would like to dedicate the whole day to the Lord. All the activities be supervised and be directed by the Lord as he likes. So you dedicate the day to the Lord like that. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Manasa Deho Geho. I give you my mind, my house, my family, everything. We dedicate the day. Then all that we do, now we have asked that it be under the directions of the Lord. Then you say, oh, but the Lord is spiritual and we're doing material things. Well, the Lord is actually the source of both spiritual and material. Therefore, even if we dedicate things that we do material to the Lord, then all that we do now is under the control of the Lord, because we have free choice and we have chosen to give our day to the Lord. All that you eat, Krishna is saying, all that you eat and all that you offer and give away. So we offer our foodstuff according to the cooking process, the restrictions for it, and the items to cook. All of that we offer to the Lord. What things we give away? Now we have to think very, very clearly about this one. Give away. That's the charity part. We have to give charity to Krishna conscious activities. If we give charity in some other way that's material, it really doesn't help the person that is the recipient. And you might say, oh, but they didn't have money and I gave them money. I gave them $10, $50, $100. Therefore, now they're $100 more. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. And here's why. Every soul that comes in the human body has a certain amount of, this is called karma, right? A certain amount of good things that will happen and a certain amount of challenges that will happen. Therefore, if you give on a material reasoning only, then the recipient's account is going to be adjusted so that that number, that percentage of suffering and that percentage of happiness in that person's life never changes. So while you think you've helped, actually the transcendental system will make an adjustment in the area of suffering so that whatever percentage that person is supposed to experience in this life in terms of suffering and whatever percentage that is supposed to experience in terms of enjoyment do not change. But when you give to the Lord, you get spiritual credits for doing that. That's why it's smarter to give away, but give away to the Lord. Then you say, oh, there's somebody on the street that says, I'm hungry, please give me money. But you don't really know that if you give him money, he's going to go buy something. So why don't you just give him prashadam then? That way, it is foodstuff offered to the Lord. It's Krishna's mercy extended to that person that was hungry. And you definitely covered yourself because money is just too universal. They can play with it. They can gamble with it. They can drink with it. They can even pay a prostitute with it. Or they can buy food with it. And they may buy food too that is abominable with it. But if you give prashadam, then that's restricted them to one, helping them for what they needed because they said they were hungry. And at the same time, giving the Lord's mercy. So everything that we do should involve Krishna consciousness in it, directly or indirectly. If we dedicate the whole day, then it's like that. And of course, the most important thing, chanting the holy name of the Lord. And we should pray to be able to chant, and chant attentively. It's funny that we talk to people. This is the last point we're going to put out. We talk to people, and when we're talking, we don't have any problem at all focusing on what we're talking about and the person we're talking to. But when it comes to Krishna, sometimes we're chanting and our mind goes somewhere else. Why? Because we have not mastered the personal connection with Krishna yet. When we talk to someone else, that person is in front of us and naturally we connect to them. We know, let's look at the other side of it. We're talking to somebody and we have our face turned away from them and we're speaking. That's going to it's going to look weird. We won't even think to do that. We have to be looking at the person. We have to be in a place where they can hear. If they are further away from us, we even know to speak a little louder. Even all of that we know. But because our personal connection with Krishna has been weakened so much by material life, then we are talking to Krishna, we're talking to Srimati Radharani, Hare Krishna, but still our attention goes somewhere else. So it's not Brahma that's made our bodies difficult for us to chant with attention. It's just that our own connection with Krishna is weak, and therefore we should be focusing on Krishna, just like we focus on anyone that we talk to, but then we have problems with it. But with practice, we will get there. So yes, the materialist looks at things, not understand they are an illusion. Krishna says, because they don't want to believe in the personal form, that's their problem. But we should offer everything to the Lord, and that way we will stay in the process, Krishna consciousness, and that takes us back to Godhead. Shira Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much for listening. Allow me to do the service. And now this is the time the Woodies can unmute themselves and share or ask questions as you like. Hare Krishna. So any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances, August at your
Accept
cross.
my glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you for a very, I think, a sublime class is what's coming to my mind right now. Very, very calm and very, very much to the core of the heart.
All glories to Guru and Guranga. Okay.
Yeah, to the core of the heart to really remind us about, I think one point that really struck me, and I'm glad that you brought it up, was the concept of one of the 6 enemies of the mind, the lust concept. Sometimes we think that the lust is as a sexual activity, but it isn't. I
It's
think
only part of it.
it's part of it.
Small
There's a
part
lot
of
of
it.
I was gonna say it's a very small part of it because what happens mostly is on the subtle level, not on the gross level.
Yeah.
And the
Yes.
subtle level is what we are not able to distinguish that it is actually lust. It is actually this, it is actually illusion, it's actually anger, it's actually greed. We are not able to codify it in that way is because we don't know that that is what it entails. So yeah, so thank you for bringing that up. I think it's important that we really are able to identify and quote and recognize, that's the word, that this is one of the six enemies of the mind, because we tend to forget that it starts on a subtle level before it manifests in the gross, level. It starts from the subtle to the gross. It just doesn't go into gross. It's so I just wanted to just share that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, there are six enemies of the mind: lust, anger, greed, pride, illusion, and envy, and particularly lust. And Sri Krishna actually spends time talking about lust. When Arjuna asked the question, why is it that some people even know what is right, but they just get pulled to do the wrong thing? It's like they know, which means the intelligence is telling them. Intelligence is the one that deciphers. We talked about the mind, say, I like this and I don't like this, sankalpa, vikalpa. But the intelligence is the one that says, this is good for you, this is not good for you. So whatever you say you like, is it good for you though? Hmm? So that's what intelligence does, makes us discriminate before we take action. But yeah, lust is like that. Lust is actually selfish. I want for me. When we define lust as opposed to love, then lust is selfish, what I can get for me. Why do people involve themselves in illicit sex? Because they want the enjoyment for themselves. That's why they do that. There's some enjoyment in a different way, in a different place, they will go for that. We always have to put Krishna first, not our enjoyment first. When we give, and for devotees, we are restricted. We can give, but we have to give in the mode of goodness, not give in the mode of ignorance, just like we explained. We didn't mention it that way, but now we have to think through what we do before we even give charity. Will it be used for something in the mode of goodness, or will it be used in passion or ignorance? If we're sure that it can be used in the mode of ignorance, then that's not something to give away. That's charity in the mode of ignorance. Just like we explained that if you give, somebody says they're hungry, give them prasadam. Give them prasadam. Or buy for them. And they can never be sure what they will do once you give them something that they can, like money, that they can do something else with it. And now, if they do something, they say, well, they did it, but actually, you're the one that fueled it because you gave the opportunity for them to actually get to do something in the mode of ignorance with it. So even our gifts for devotees, we have to be careful how we give. So anyway, yeah, lust is like that. Lust is for me. I want for me. Love is, so love gives and lust takes. Takes means I want for myself, for my senses. It does not mean that we shouldn't buy anything for ourselves, but we always should look at how we can use the thing that we bought for ourselves to serve Krishna and to serve the devotees. How? Yes, you need to wear a certain outfit to go to the temple. So you buy a nice sari for yourself. You're going to go to the temple with the sari. If you buy a sari for other purposes and never ever think about me taking it to the temple, well, that's a different story then. Then it goes under the category of lust. But if you just use it for some purposes and then other purposes related to Krishna, then definitely you are using, not every, that one thing we have to make clear, not everything that we give or take to use will be used fully for Krishna. Fully for Krishna. Sometimes, for example, if we get a paycheck, we pay our bills, we pay many things, material, we take care of it. Then we give in charity to the temple. So part of the money has been given to the temple. Not all the money, part of the money has been given to the temple. Even that, Krishna accepts that because the intention is to assist the temple in just being managed and it being there, as a matter of fact, just being there alone because the bills have to be paid. So that is good. Krishna is asking what? Patram Puspam Phalam Toyam, Yomi Bhakti Punachti. He says, offer something. Offer, even the poorest man can get a little water, a little fruit, a little flour. He said, I'll accept it. He didn't say offer the whole world. No. Offer as much as you can. If you're wealthy, offer more. But if you're poor, very poor, then even those things he'll accept. Mm-hmm. So we just have to be in the consciousness of Krishna all of the time. How can we give? How can we give to Krishna's parts and parcels? How can we give to the devotees? That way, help to the devotees. Mm-hmm. And that's what's going to make us happy, ultimately, not material things. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your comment. Any other comments or questions? You can unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please
Hare
accept my
Krishna. Please accept my glory to your power.
all Krishna, Prabhupada.
Okay.
It was a nice class. In the start, you were making a point that Krishna is in the personal form, but his personal form is not a material body. It's more like a um, spiritual body.
Yeah, it
As
is spiritual.
Sachidananda Vigraha. Uh, that we need to remind or keep it in mind when we are meditating, and like we should keep away from those the false propaganda that is spread out, that there is impersonalism. So we should keep away from those. That was a nice point that I liked. And then you also
Krishna's
mentioned
message.
regarding donation of in the mode of ignorance, just giving out in charity, money to anyone, but because we are not giving that money to the right source. uh,
That's
if
the
we
issue.
want to that becomes donation in ignorance. We should know what we are giving to someone. If you are giving money and if he uses in some wrong activity, that becomes mode of ignorance, because we don't know what we are giving it for. Even for even when we are donating to any particular organization, what does the organization do with it? Is it
Yes.
really being used for a good cause? That's why it's good to know about the organization before we start donating to any organization like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a nice point as well. And then you talked about this regarding the uh, lust. Yeah, it comes on a very subtle thing, that what lust basically means like it is basically somewhere like a greed. On a subtle level, subtle
Yes.
platform,
They're
because
very
big,
closely
very,
related.
yeah, very closely. So yeah, so that was also a nice point. Thank you, bro. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So that's nice takeaways. All glories to Shri Prabhupada, all glories to Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. Jai. Any other points? If not, then thank you very much for coming on to hear. Hearing is so good for all of us. I also get self-purified from just speaking, but I'm speaking by the mercy of Guru and Guranga, so I'm also learning at the same time. Hare Krishna. Have a nice, wonderful rest of your week. And tomorrow is Christmas Day. Devotees say, oh, well, we're not Christians, but I'll say one thing about Christ. That Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj both said, Christ is a Shaktivesh avatar. Christ is a Shaktivesh avatar. He is a person, like a human being, flesh and blood, but the Shakti of the Lord is with him, which means the purpose by which he came was actually very, very beneficial for the world. for many, many people in the world. Even though what he taught was not transcendental, now don't get me wrong here. It does not mean he doesn't know transcendence. He knows way more than all of us together. But but if you're a professor and you have first graders in front of you, you just can't teach them calculus. You have to teach them something, the ABCs or the 1+1s. So that's what people are willing to live with, Christians. And therefore, he taught at that level. He taught at that level. But he is actually Shakti Shavatan. Shakti Shavatan is very highly, highly, highly regarded. Highly regarded. Carrying the energy of the Lord. Another way that my Guru Maharaj explained it, that if the Lord himself had come in that position to save people, he would have done just like Jesus did. So, his commission is pretty high, and there is a particular planet even set aside for him because he has the mystic cities anyway, and one of them is to create planets. That does not mean that he has created that particular planet, but there is one planet set aside for Christians, and he's going to teach what we are already learning here. So they'll be there a long time because it's a heavenly type planet. But we, from teaching this and then taking the Krishna consciousness seriously and chanting, we go directly to the spiritual world. So it's a long detour for them, but it is not really that bad. Krishna consciousness, we are actually fortunate to have to what they're going to learn later on already now in detail. Hare Krishna. All right, so have a nice, wonderful rest of your week. Pancha kalpatarubhasya kripa sunibhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Bless you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Bless you, Srila Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Bless you, Srila Prabhupada.